right, everyone, we are moving into the next section of Teams. We talked about instant messaging, presence, and meetings. We're going to actually kind of talk about the next piece now, which is the productivity side, which is this little button right here that says Teams. So we're going to go ahead and click on it. You'll notice that we have two. I have two here. You'll see that we have the general, which is everybody. This is the organization-wide team. This is a default one that gets created. We also created this marketing group. This was created as a access package that we created back in the Azure AD lab. So what we're going to do here is we're going to create a new team. And this team here, we can do it from many different facets. We can use templates as well. I'll be honest, I don't use the templates too frequently. I don't think that they're very helpful. But we're just going to create it from scratch. Okay, we can create this as a private, a public, or an org-wide. Now, only global administrators are able to use org-wide teams, but anybody can create as public or private. The difference between the two, just like we saw with Yammer, is that a private one I have to be invited to be able to see or to join, whereas a public one shows up in the global. And you can see behind this screen here is all of the teams. So when do we create a team? Well, there's two main reasons, but there's 100 others that could potentially be used, one of which would be for a project or a short-term scenario. So I'm going to create a private team for a project. I'm going to call this the M365 project. We can give it a description if we want, but I don't really care. I'm just going to go ahead and hit create. Now, right now, it's created the team. We get the little people that gives us a thumbs up. We can add members directly from here if we want. Now, I'm going to skip over this for the time being. So here's our team. This is what our team is consistent of. Okay, so there's several things that we'll notice here when I created this team. And we're going to go to the admin portal here just to show you. So I created this team. And with it, we created several different things. So the first one that we created here, if we go to Active Teams and Groups, we will see M365 Project, and it is a team integrated group. It has an email address, which means it has an Exchange mailbox attached to it. If we come over to SharePoint, we come over here to Active Sites, we'll see M365 Project has a team. It is connected inside of Teams. It is a team site that is connected with Teams. Our marketing site is a team site that is not connected with Teams. I certainly could if I wanted to, but it is not currently connected with Teams, which again, we don't care about that when we care about this Microsoft 365 project. So, in this instance here, what is this entire thing? Well, let's break it down. So we have, this is the team itself, and then we have what's underneath of it called channels. Every team has a default channel called General. Soon we'll be able to rename this, but as it stands right now, it is just stuck at General. So maybe we want to add a channel on here. So this is the SharePoint channel, and I can make this as a private, or standard, or shared. I'm just going to create this as standard for the time being here, and I'm going to automatically show this in everyone's list. So I'm going to hit OK. And you will see, now we have SharePoint. So we have two different sections under here. So what we have done here is we created two logical entities. Why do I care about these? Well, it really comes down to different conversation pieces. Okay, so maybe I want to create a third one here, and this is around Exchange. So I have these three channels that are created here. Now this is several different things. So first I can set what's referred to as a conversation or a channel message. So this is very similar to a post. Hello everyone. Now as you see, I just popped that in there and it's a thread. We will have many different threads that'll pop up under here. Now in this instance here, what we're doing is just doing a simple hello everyone kind of message. We can also do the same things that we saw with Yammer, where we can reply. You know, we can also do, hey, we want to do a meet now, we want to have a meeting, or we want to do, I'm going to reply with a Giphy. You know, I'm going to do the laughing baby. So there's the Giphy. So there's a lot of things that we can do and add in here. So that's just the conversation piece. But again, in this instance on here, we're going to say, did you see the new SharePoint feature? I just posted that in there, and that's all, really, and there's not a whole lot going on. But right now, this team here is very small. There's nobody really doing anything in here. All I'm doing is leaving channel messages, which, again, is kind of dumb when there's nobody else inside of this team. So, again, let's go ahead and go to Manage the Team. So we have the team here. We have members and guests, which currently have none. We have an owner, which is me. We can do requests. That's for if somebody wants to come in. That's a little bit different, and that doesn't necessarily apply to this type of team. We can see the channels, which you can see right here. We can have different experiences for them. We can see the overall setting. We're going to get on this when we talk more about the permissions and the security side of teams. We can see some analytics here. What are people doing with this the most, and what are things doing inside of here? That's really it. So let's come back over here to members, and we want to add a member. We're going to add our good buddy Getty Lee. We're going to hit add. Now, as you see over there, Getty just got a little blip. I'm going to keep him as a member for the time being, so we're going to go ahead and close. Getty just got an email and a blip. So just bringing his over here. We see you have been added to a team. It's the M365 project. And here's just, stuff. We can show the block content. Oh, here's the pretty pictures, and here's all of these. It automatically creates a 2-digit, so it's going to be M and P, but it's automatically going to create this on here along with a different color pattern. We can change that if we want, of course. I will go ahead and mark that as there, but if I come over to Teams, I get a little blip that says, Matt added you to M365 project. So if I come over here to Teams, now you will see I have the organization-wide one. That's, of course, for everybody. But I also have this M365 project. So we can see, oh, that's cool. Hey, I can see the channel messages that are in here. These are threads and more of conversations that have come through. Now, if we were to have I'm going to come and bring this over here, is that I am in the Exchange one. Wow. I'm going to put a new thread in there, and it says, wow. So over here on Getty's side, I do not see anything related to has this been essentially messaged to me? Do I know that there was somebody posted inside of there? Well, I don't by default. So this is where we get to that important part around @mentioning. We did a little bit here in the last lecture, but what we're going to do here is maybe we want to, we want to @mention somebody, so we can go ahead and @. So if we hit the @ sign, there's several different things that we can do. We can @praise, which is a little bot, @approval, Power BI, stream. We can do more bots, team owners, or I can go directly to Getty Lee. Another option that I can do here is @mention a channel. So I can say exchange. And when I do that, Getty gets a little blip. Let's come over here to Getty's experience. So Getty has a little blip there in the Exchange. We have the little pop-up desktop notification. We come over here to activity, and it says Matt mentioned in Exchange. If I come over here to Teams, I can see it inside of here, and I see that the channel was mentioned. Now, what if I want to as well? I'll do another reply over here, and I will specifically mention Getty Lee. Shoot it over. Again, coming over here, it's a very similar experience, but it says Matt mentioned you. Come over here to the activity tab there, and it says Matt mentioned you. And I can see it here, so it actually hides it out. If I go to the team, and I go to the Exchange channel, we will see over here that you can see that this brings your eye to it significantly more. We get the orange on it. The little @ sign is you specifically were mentioned. So again, now in this instance, since this is something that is very common, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that over on there, and I'm going to, cool, I'm going to reply. I didn't @mention or really do anything there. Since I was engaged in this thread already, you'll see over here on my Matt account, my admin account here, the exchange is bold. And you'll see if I come over here to activity, we'll see a Getty reply. So I am getting an alert, but I'm not getting a desktop alert. Okay, I'm not getting an alert. It's keeping down the amount of noise that I'm getting, so I know when to and where we are meeting with. What's essentially coming to me. That's the important part of this. So these channel messages here, where do they exist? Well, these are actually stored inside of this group, inside of this mailbox. They're stored inside of there. Now, I don't have access to the mailbox. The only way you can get to it is through PowerShell. That's a very complicated process, to be honest with you, and it's not that fancy, and it's not really worth the time and effort for it right now. There are certain times when, yes, it makes sense to do so, but for now, we're not going to worry about it. We're going to come back here. Now again, in this instance here, maybe I have a file. So let's upload a new file. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go over to Files. And you'll notice in here, this looks very similar. This looks a lot like SharePoint, doesn't it? We can hit New. We can create a brand new Word document from here. I create a Word document called hello.docx. It's totally cool. Again, I can edit this right inside of my Teams client. Close it out. And you will see that it is now in the Hello section. If I come over here for Getty's side, I come over here to Exchange, I go to Files. Guess what I see? Hello. It said modified by Matt Alloway a few seconds ago. Cool. What if I come over here to SharePoint and I go to Files? Wait a second, I don't see anything there. That's an important piece of this. So remember, the reason why we create channels here is for logically separating things out. And you'll see that we have this little button up here that says Open in SharePoint. So if we click Open in SharePoint, we'll close that out of here, and we'll see that we have a SharePoint library here. So if we go to the document library, you'll see that we have Exchange, General, and SharePoint. These correlate to the channels. Every time I create a channel in here, it creates a separate folder under the document library. That's all. So here's that hello one inside of Exchange. Cool. Easy enough there. We can see that inside of here. Now, typically, we don't go inside of SharePoint too frequently when we're working inside of Teams. We don't really need to be completely honest with you. So if we come over here to Exchange, remember, we have a lot of really cool functionalities here. Let's just say, hey, I'm working together in this Exchange one. Remember this little sync button that we had? Now we'll give that just a second here. And after a second here, we see that we are syncing your files. Well, what the heck does that mean? Well, again, we've seen this already once before. Open this up. And come over here. We can see that here's the M365 project in Exchange. We're using the OneDrive for Business Sync client. So remember when I said that this is the lifeblood, I wasn't kidding around with it. This is how we essentially synchronize our objects, and we can have a very nice and easy user's experience. This could be our department level drive, and with that logic at least. And it works just the same as it does as we saw before. So we can do a lot with these things on here. So we have general channels. We've already seen some of the chats, the general chats, the channels and all of that. Well, let's go through a couple other scenarios here. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up the SharePoint one, and we're going to meet now. So we're going to shut off all of the audio, and we're going to jump into this meeting. So we're meeting now. So what you'll notice here is that right now I have nobody inside the meeting, which again, that's fine. But if I'm over here on Getty's side and I just so happen to see that, oh, there's a meeting going on with the SharePoint, and I can see that, hey, it's there, and I can jump in if I need. Again, I'm going to shut that off and join now. And we've already gone over this experience here, but there's one last thing that I want to show you. So the one piece that I want to do is recording. So I kick off the recording here. And it'll finally pick up there. Okay, so we are recording. And you'll notice that inside of you know, we're having our meeting, we're doing our thing, and, you know, we're talking about all of our stuff. And that's it. We're good. So the meeting is over, let's just say. Go ahead and hang up. And we come over here to SharePoint. It says recording. Stop saving the recording. Come over here to Files. We have a little button called Recordings. If I click on Recordings, I can see the meeting recording. So the idea behind this here is that, remember, before they were saved in our personal OneDrive. Well, now when we share or record inside of a team, they're saved inside of the SharePoint site. So we can see that here is that this is all relative to the organization that we're doing here. But again, anybody that comes and goes into this team will have full access to these meetings. They can view them. They can look at all the old pieces of it. They can look at all the old stuff as well. So it's all really cool things that we're doing here. So when we do the recording, we can set meetings. We can set a recurring meeting. So let's do schedule a meeting. Now when I schedule a meeting, you notice how it automatically adds the channel into it. Now we could add additional channels if we wanted. Certainly could do that if we want. And we can have a recurring meeting. And every time we have chats inside of that recurring meeting, it'll just continuously add on to this thread. And we can always come back to it for reference. So, recording aspect here, this is actually fantastic because I can come in here and I can say, oh, I missed the recording. I was out on vacation last week. What did you guys talk about? Oh, you say, well, here you go. Watch the recording. And then, boom, we can do that. We can see inside of here and view the recording and watch it and get caught up on everything we need to get caught up on. Now, with that, let's look at some of the other functionalities on it. So we saw the meeting, the meet now. We saw the schedule meeting. You know, there's a whole bunch of stuff that we can do in here. We can add some different stuff on here, but really what I want to do is start getting into the we'll call it the productivity side. So let's just say that this M365 project has a, I don't know, we'll do a SharePoint site. How about that? Do any SharePoint site. Now, if we come over to our, we'll just do the all company one. How about that? Actually, you know what we'll do here is we'll do this, the root one. We played around with this one before, so we'll use this one here since it's got a communication side of things. Okay, so we want to, boom, paste that communication in there. So add content to your team's channel from any SharePoint site, as you see here. Now we have the ability to post to the channel about this tab. So watch what happens. We hit save. You will notice on here that I don't have to leave my team to get to the SharePoint site. It is actually part of the web browser inside of here, and I can just go right to it from the posts to the site. And you'll notice that over here on Getty's side, I have a little SharePoint piece, and I come up here and it says, oh, I added a tab to the top. Check it out. And if you notice up here at the top where it says new, I click on that, and guess what it's doing? It's going to take me directly to the site. Now I'm viewing this in browser inside of here, and I can get the Yammer stuff. Everything works just as it does if I'm viewing it on a regular website, like a browser or something. So that's one side of this coin here. Maybe we want to start looking at some of these other productivity side and these other productivity apps, like Forms. I love Forms. I think Forms is awesome. So what we're going to do here is we're going to create a shared form that your team can edit and see the results on, or maybe we're going to add an existing. Now we don't have an existing one because I didn't create one, but we're going to talk about, you know, favorite ice cream flavor. All right, so I can edit this form here directly in it. So I'm going to put, you know, choice, flavor, vanilla. And you can see it automatically is adding some things underneath. Strawberry, butterscotch, mint, peppermint. You can add those in there. That looks cool. That's good enough. Okay, so we have it right now. We've edited this form, and the cool part is that Getty can come over here, come to SharePoint. He can come over here, and he can edit this too. So we can have multiple people editing this, okay? And you can see over here that is also editing it. So I can see, hey, maybe I want to add another color, or, you know, how cool is Matt? And then, of course, we give stars. Sounds good to me. We can make this required, or we can do some branching pieces here. Then, again, that's all fine. We're not really worried about that. But really what the idea here is that we can work together on these things. Okay, well, we're ready. Let's start collecting some responses. So we can just do a simple copy. We can email this out to the organization. We can embed this. We can use a QR code, email it, and again, link it, as I said. We can have people inside the organization, specific people, or we can do anyone. So if we do a copy here, we can come over here to the to this general tab here and create. So we can actually link this one over to it. So we hit forms, add an existing form, favorite ice cream flavor. And you're going to say, so every time I jump into this one here, okay, well, vanilla is obviously my favorite, and Matt is totally cool. We hit submit. Thank you for your response. And then we come back over here to the edit side, and we can look at the responses. So here is a response. If we want, we can analyze this data, put it into Excel, start playing around with it. These are really helpful in certain circumstances. Now, this is just a tip of the iceberg when it comes to it. Maybe we want to start looking at some of the more, we'll say, fancy pieces. Planner. I like this one a lot. So we're going to create a new plan, and we're going to call this M365 tasks. We're going to hit save. So planner here is really based off of, we have buckets. Okay, so what we're going to do this is we're going to call M365. We're going to call this Exchange. And we're going to add another bucket called SharePoint. And we're going to create a task on here, send announcement email. We're going to set a due date of, I don't know, Tuesday. We're going to assign Matt to it. Add that task. And we're going to add an exchange. Run the hybrid configuration wizard. That has to be done by the end of the month. We're going to assign that to Getty Lee. And we're going to add a task here for SharePoint is create new intranet. That has to be done by the end of September. We're going to assign Getty and Matt to it. We're going to add that task in there. Okay, so here are some tasks that are going along, and these are somebody that is just kind of, here's a creation of them. Now we have lots of different ways to be able to view this here as well. So we can do a list. Here's a list of them. You can see basically when they're due. We can sort them by which bucket they're in, their priority, whatever we want to do. If we want to just create a new task, we can just start typing in there. We can do a filter. We can say who they're assigned to. So if I just want to look and say, all right, well, I just want to see the ones assigned to me. I don't care about what Getty is. So anyone that's assigned to me, I can come in here and do it. Okay, well, let's see here. We're going to open up the announcement email. Let's just say, hey, I did it. I'm in progress, working on that one there, and then I start doing my thing, and then I complete it. Okay, so I can have an internal checklist here on this task, so it's like a subtask on there. I can do an attachment to, here's a copy of the email, and I can add, say, hey, all done, Skipper. And you see now, and you can see a comment on it, which, well, that's interesting. Got email rejected there. Oh, it's because we set it up to reject. So we set that up before. But again, the person would get an email essentially. So if you see on here, we can kind of filter these. We can do, ones that are active or ones that are completed. Like, oh, you know what? That one's actually not completed anymore. I forgot. We got to go back to it. To do it, whatever it is. So we can play around with this here. So we have the board, which is kind of nice, and you can get really creative with these, of course, too. And then we can do charts. This is kind of for the PM inside of us, so the project manager, so we can go in and look and see, hey, we still got 3 tasks to do. None of them are in progress. What's going on? We can look at the schedule to see, oh, what's coming up? What's the one that needs to come up first? Oh, that announcement one. We need to check that one out. So, put it in progress. Get started on it. So we can look at charts now as we have one in progress, and then some of them may be late. So let's focus on some of the ones that are late. Let's look at the priority of some of these here too. By default, they're going to be created as medium. But if I come in here and I say, okay, well, this is an urgent priority. We need to get going on this one. So there we go. You can see it's got a little priority on it that's urgent. Again, a lot of things that we can do with this here. We can do lots of different things with it. This is a great way of just keeping on task. And here's a cool part about it is that we all have the ability to come over here and edit and add and change and do. You'll notice over here that on my activity feed here, I got a million little activities that I just worked through on there. Go back to the team there. And then here's the tasks. So again, we can look through this all here. This is all really cool stuff. Maybe we want to get a little bit more on here. I don't know. What else we want to do on here? We can do OneNote. We can certainly create a OneNote. So we're going to use this as the M365 project notebook. We're going to create, this is the SharePoint one. So why don't we call this SharePoint section. We'll just link the main one on here. There we go. So again, inside of OneNote here, hey, we can keep track. It's already got a SharePoint one on here. I don't know, it's got a little screwed up there when I guess I created it. But neither here nor there. We can see that we have these different sections inside of here. We can do lots of different things, of course, inside of it. But, hey, here's some pages. And if we want to keep notes on different things, we can do that too. We can get really creative. OneNote is a very important or impressive thing. If you haven't used it, maybe it's something you want to potentially look at. Now, here's the thing about it is we can open it up in the browser. Of course, we can open it up in the desktop app because they will all synchronize as well. So as you see, this is starting to get a little bit big out here. I don't know. Maybe we want to do some different things on here too. Maybe we want to do Power BI, potentially. I don't believe we have any Power BI dashboards that are available to us right away. Yeah, we have no workspaces here, but we can create a new workspace, or if we had Power BI dashboards that were already created, want to do some business intelligence or maybe KPI tracking, we can add that up here as well. So these are just the first-hand ones when I hit this. These are just kind of your recent ones. These are first-party ones, if you will. So as you see on here, maybe we want to do a whiteboard or stream. Hey, we want to do some video uploading, whatever it is. We can do some things here, but if you start scrolling down here, we start getting to different things. So these are third party. I'll be honest with you, I have no idea what I would say 90% of these things do here, but these are third party apps that we can add into here, but not all of them are. So this channel calendar, for instance, hey, we want to add that in there. This is a Microsoft corporation, so this is designed by Microsoft. Oops, didn't mean to do that. You can see that. What happened to my channel calendar? There we go. All right, so here's the channel calendar here, so we can keep track of the exchange rollouts or vacations maybe. Sky's the limit. We can do whatever we want inside of here. That's the whole point of this, is that there's really... the sky is the limit on these things, whatever we want to do. Maybe we use some third-party tools like Smartsheet, or there's so many of them out there, of course. But, at the end of the day, which one makes the most sense for us to use? So, with that being said, there's a couple of things that I want to show you as well. And this is where we get around the idea of external. Yes, we can share out files. We can come in here to Teams, and we can find this little information here, and we can share from here. I don't like that. I think it's a terrible idea. I'm not a big fan of sharing because I'm only sharing this particular document with them. Maybe I want them to come into this team and actually interact with us. We want them to be able to view the chats and the channels and such. Well, how do we do that? Well, we come over here, we add a member. Now, only owners can do this. So I'm going to type in my Junko Gmail account. which was giving me a little bit of grief before, but now we can see it's coming in as a guest. We come over here, and if we go to manage the team, we'll see we have Geddy Lee. It's going to take a little bit for Geddy Lee to actually, or for my Gmail account to show up in here, but let me see if I can log into my Gmail account here real quick. There we go. Let's pop this guy out. So this is what I got here. You've been invited. That's the exact same one that we saw before. So if I click on it here, it's going to open up. Okay, so it's going to show up under here, maddox28@gmail.com. We'll send you a code to sign you in. We're going to send the code. Now, this is a one-time passcode here. It gets emailed directly to my account, and only my account. I can't change it, of course. I don't know why that didn't do that, but we will do 1200387. We'll sign in. And it's going to ask you, hey, this is what it's going to do. It's going to receive your profile data, collect and log your activity, use your profile data. So on the source tenant here, these are the things that I can see. This organization can receive your profile data. I can look at your name, email address, and photo if you have it published, or these types of things on here, which again, for the most part, is pretty easy. So we just go ahead and hit OK. And there we go. So we're going to use the web app instead. Now I'm coming in as my Gmail account. However, I believe it is going to automatically sign me in as Geddy Lee, which it did. So it just signed me in as Geddy Lee because I was already signed in, and I only have so many browsers on here. But what will end up happening here is that we should see, maybe if I can kind of nudge this along. No, it's not going to show it in there. But what we should see now is if we come to Azure Active Directory, we go to Users, as I was saying before, we now have a guest object. So there we go. So it says guest. And you can see it was basically creation type was invitation, identity was just mail. So if I click on it here, you'll see this is a guest. You know, that's it. This is an actual object. I could delete this right from my tenant too if I wanted. I cannot reset the password contrary to what this is saying here, but I can revoke the sessions. I cannot reset the password though. So again, this object here, this is an object that exists inside of my tenant. So as you can see on here that they would. And like I said, I'm just waiting for this to show up and you'll see it as a guest. So think about this from a third-party vendor. You work with somebody. You work with a partner that's on the outside of the organization. I talked to you about federation, one-to-one chats, where we can just kind of come to the chat and open up a chat. But what if we want someone to come in and actually work inside of a team? Well, we can do that. And you can see now that they've been added in there as a guest. So at that point there, they're coming in as a guest, and they can operate within this tenant here, or excuse me, within this team only. They will not get any of the others. They will see just the information in this team, and they will be able to interact with them as such. Now, let's just say that with that person coming in, so what I'm going to do here is I just want to show you what it looks like here. So I'm actually going to sign out of Geddy Lee completely so we can actually see what the account is. All right, so we're signing out completely. Now I'm going to come back in as that guest user account. And hopefully this will work a little bit better. Okay, just got to do this one-time passcode here real quick. There you go. So I'm actually able to get in now. So there's a couple things that it's looking for. More information is required. Well, that looks familiar, doesn't it? So as we go in here, there's several things that'll pop up on here, but they want you to use the authenticator, which again is a very important thing because we want to set this up securely. So they want us to install the the piece here, which I'm going to set up real quick. Authenticator. Which I can get this going here real quick. QR code. Scan the QR code. Looks good. Go ahead and hit next. Approve it. Looks good. And then we'll be done. Okay, so now I am coming in as the guest inside of the tenant. So as you see on here, I have, I can see these channels. Here's Exchange. Here's SharePoint. These are hidden by default. I can just click the little button to show, and I will see all of them on there. So again, I can see all of this information on here, and I can interact with it. Here's one. Hello all. And you can see that I'm posting as a guest. Now, with that being said, let's just say that inside of here we wanted to have internal only. We do have external people coming in there, but what we can do is we can create a new channel called internal only. And then we come over here and we create this as a private channel. So private channels are interesting because what will end up happening is they are explicit and they will be hidden from everybody except for those who are specifically, and you'll see there's a little lock icon on there. These are specifically explicit only. So again, looking at it over here from, here's my guest account side, I do not see that internal only one there because I was not given access to see that internal only one. Now, how does this work in the back end? Well, this one actually is pretty interesting. So what we're going to do here is we're going to open this up in SharePoint. Remember, we have this sites M365 project shared documents, blah, 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 blah. Well, if we come in here, we have sites, project, internal only, shared documents, blah, blah, blah. But it is only internal only, as it says in there. So this is actually a completely separate SharePoint site. It's a subsite, actually. And you can see it only has internal, and it is a private channel attached to it. So this is actually a completely different SharePoint site. So the information that's put in here would not be over here in this one, as you can see. There's nothing over here. So the reason why we create these here is so we can separate them logically. So any information we need to talk about here, like, hey, come over here to post. Guest guy is annoying. And there we go. So we posted this to the internal only one, and now this guest over here has no idea that they are trash talking them over on the other one. So with that being said, the productivity side of Teams here is vast. There's a lot it can do. There's quite a lot that it can do, of course. So overall here, I think we've covered quite a lot of it, but there's still more to cover, of course, over time. But the next piece I want to start talking about are the actual security side. What can we control from the admin side, and what can we do inside of the applications? There's a whole bunch of applications that are available to us. Do we want to allow that or not? So with that being said here, I'm going to go ahead and I think we're good for this particular lab here. We're going to jump into the admin side here in the next one. And thank you for jumping on this one. See you over on the next one.